Welcome to the Selling Show, where we unpack, repack, and break down exactly how top experts sell their ideas, their value, and their services. This is your host, David Newman, and you are in the right place if you want better clients, bigger deals, and higher fees. Sales? Selling? No, I'm sorry. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. I don't trust your system. I don't trust your salespeople. I don't trust anything about you. But lucky for you, I have the man, the myth, the legend that's going to help you fix those problems, Mr. David Horsager of Trust Edge. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Wow. It's not all that often my name is stated right. The company is stated right. It's like, what's going on here? Anyway, great to be on with you, David.
This is a quality operation here, my friend. We at least get the pronunciation right. The rest of it, we're not sure. Let's see how it goes.
That's okay. You're looking good.
So this is so fascinating because, of course, the whole profession of sales, and I'm sure you've done the research on this, and correct me if I'm wrong here, please, is sales the lowest trust profession on our planet, or is there something that's lower?
Oh, there's lots lower.
Really?
Well, you can get into politics. That's lower. You can be even one step lower is media, depending on who you trust that way or not. I mean, that took a steep dive institutionally in America, basically since Watergate. Both government and media have tanked below sales. So you know what? There's a lot of great salespeople out there, but I will say this, the truth and bottom line about it, and according to our research, and I think we put out one of the most significant studies on trust and leadership, at least out of North America, even though it's a global study, and that is trust is the leading indicator. If you want to speed up sales, you have to build it on trust. If you want to get more sales, you have to deal with the trust issue at the core. And I will just argue this from the front. At the core, it's always a trust issue. It's never a leadership issue. We follow leaders we trust. It's not a sales issue. The reason we buy has something to do with trust, either in the person or the product. It's not about, we say, oh, it's about being liked. Well, you know what? I've got friends I like a whole lot I wouldn't go into business with in a million years. Trust is way higher than being liked. And the question everybody's asking every salesperson that's listening right now is not, do I like you? It is, can I trust you? Can I trust what you're saying? Can I trust you're going to deliver this way? Can I trust that product's going to work for me? And even if you're in the desert and you're dying and someone has water that they think will save their life, they might not like or in some ways even trust the person, but they trust the product. There's always a trust issue involved where sales is involved. And the only way to speed up or amplify or increase sales is deal with trust. And that can be increasing trust in the product. It can be increasing trust in the system, or you can start where you can start. And the fastest way is to increase trust in the salesperson.
So let's talk about that, because I mean, there's such a rich area of things to dive into here. But looking at kind of the stereotypical salesperson, maybe not the cliche used car salesperson, because that would be too easy, but just the average salesperson in our world of professional services, consulting, law firms, accounting firms, people that sell services, they're not selling a thing, they're selling an intangible. So I'm guessing trust is even more important there. What are some common mistakes and what are some easy fixes that we can start to plug some of the holes in our trust bucket?
I'll give you one right off and we can just keep chatting, but one that just jumps to mind. So first of all, there's a framework for building trust. The first half of my grad work 20 years ago showed how lack of trust is the biggest cost in an organization. And then that begged the question, well, how do you build it? Whether you're a salesperson, leader, or parent, right? And there's actually a framework of how trust is built. And it's not just character, right? It's not just some of these things we think. That doesn't mean character isn't important, but it's other things. And so one of those things is clarity. People trust the clear and they mistrust or distrust the ambiguous or the overly complex. When I was a professor, it's, we got to look complex, got to look smart, right? Well, whenever we do, we lose clarity, which always loses trust. Today, clarity wins. Clarity, clarity, clarity. So if I was going to take a salesperson, I would say you're being clear often about the wrong things. And let me start with other people so you get it. Let's take a leader. Ooh, I got it. I'm really clear. A leader might not be trusted if they're not clear about the vision. A manager might not be trusted if they're not clear about expectations. A teacher might be compassionate and kind, but not trusted by their students because they're not clear about the assignments. So the kids go home frustrated. What about the salesperson? Well, this salesperson, they're really clear about how cool they are and how long they've been in business. And nobody cares because they're not clear, absolutely clear about the benefit of that product or service to me. That's one of the missing pieces. If I get clear about the benefit of that product to me, I start to trust and sales go up. So there's many other parts of this, but clarity is something you can change in 2 weeks and see results in the bottom line. Of the 8-pillar framework, you can change clarity. So clarity, but I would start with what is the absolute benefit in a sentence of what you're bringing to me as a salesperson?
One of our other guests that we had on, his name is Simon Bowen, and he talks about visual models. So let's say that you're in a sales conversation, either in person, live, or on Zoom. And he says, you walk up to the whiteboard or you take out your iPad and you start drawing the client's situation and you start drawing the client's obstacles and you start drawing based on what they're sharing with you. You start putting on a shared visual document what they are saying so that you are both clear on what the obstacle is, what the opportunity is, what the challenges are, what the team is thinking, what the team is afraid of, what they're excited about, and so forth. Does adding collaboration to the sales process or this sort of visual mind mapping, does that help increase clarity?
2 things. Number one, I want to listen to that. I missed that episode, so I'm very intrigued and want to listen to it. So you need to forward that to everybody listening or put it in my show notes. That's fine. Let's get that out there. Number 2, of course, so of the 8 pillars of trust, one of them is connection or collaboration. If we're willing to connect and collaborate, we tend to be more trusted. We do this together. More and more people are expecting it. You know, if I go into companies, when we measure trust in big organizations, so we're measuring and closing gaps. If I see siloing or an unwillingness to, do what's best for all, like that's in big organizations, but in small, in one-on-one, if we can, how could we connect? How could we collaborate? How could we partner on this process even to equal a partnership? And that would absolutely be one way of doing it. And it's one of the pillars.
So even the sales process itself, what I'm hearing you say, David, is it's really important to do it with them and it's important not to do it to them.
Especially if it's more than a quick transaction that can be paid on a credit card. So it becomes, people want more collaboration, the higher the fee, more connection, the higher the fee. They still do just want to run it and say, give me my Diet Coke. They don't want to talk to you for that.
Right.
But anything above what you pay on a credit card, quickly, they want to collaborate. They want to feel part of it. Because that also gets to our whole individualization in our culture, right? We used to be a hamburger you bought at McDonald's. Now you can have it all your, all the whatever franchise that was, have it your way. They want to have it their way. And if they feel like they're part of that process and collaboration, they feel like they're getting the solution that isn't just for everybody on the credit card, it's for them. So if you have something that helps them specifically, of course, that's part of the collaboration. You put collaboration and clarity together, you start to have wins. And of course, there's more.
Tremendous. Well, and so I'm just going to keep poking holes and you're going to keep dropping value bombs. Is that okay?
We're going to try.
So the next thing that I'm thinking of right now is research before reach out. So if I'm an educated seller and I've done my homework and I know what the company's about and I've read their press releases, I've researched their executives, I have a very high degree of inside baseball knowledge, and I come on the scene immediately asking relevant, pointed questions about something that they're going through right now. Maybe it's an inflection point in the business, good news, bad news, merger, acquisition, recession, hiring, firing, opening up new markets, launching new products. I'm an educated seller. I know, or I have a very educated guess of what's really important to these people. How does that level of preparation increase trust?
Well, you can't collaborate if you don't know them. You can't connect. I mean, all that does things that are part of that framework for building trust. So people feel like you understand them. They feel like you understand their situation. So, I mean, I can't even hardly add to that except for that it's massive. So if you're asking a yes or no question, it's massive. So there's ways to do that. And of course, salespeople on here are asking, well, how do I do that quicker? How do I do that, more effectively and efficiently? I can't spend forever on somebody, but you'll make that up. What I've learned, at least, because, I speak still 100 times a year or so, they don't want a speaker. Let's just take it to that kind of scale and we can make it into consulting or whatever. They don't want a speaker, actually, that one will go customize everything and go to the library. They want an expert already. They also don't want someone that's pandering, that comes on and acts as if they know it all about their industry. They want an expert. But the money is made from the consultant or speaker that can take their very unique expertise, in my case, maybe the most research on trust, at least in North America. They want someone that can take that and apply it to them. And you cannot apply it to them well without knowing them, knowing their real challenges, knowing what they're feeling and sensing. We want to be taking our work and applying it to their need. And that's what we do, I think, well.
Hang on. Let's back up the truck. Beep, 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 beep. Listen, I have a brand new sales book out there. You got to get your hands on it. It is awesome. It is amazing. It is fantastic. It is useful, practical, actionable, and a ton of bonuses are waiting for you over at doitselling.com. Grab your copy right now and grab all the bonuses, goodies, companion tools, and downloads that go with the book. You'll love it. I guarantee it. I'm now thinking about questions and the role that questions have in building a trusted relationship. And you can look at almost anything, right? You mentioned parenting a few minutes ago. Obviously, psychotherapy is based on questions. Coaching is based on questions. Questions are incredibly powerful. What are some trust building type questions? And what are some kind of silly, goofy, cliche questions that actually diminish trust?
Well, I'll just break it this way. What we teach here is something we call curious questions. And you and I have a mutual friend that says you can drive conversation with questions. And she says the key to connection is conversation. The key to conversation is questions. Therefore, learn to ask great questions. So there's some keys about that, and hat tip to Patricia Fripp on that. But basically, there's some keys about making them open-ended, that letting them talk about themselves. People tend to want to talk about their challenges much more than their fun and positives. And so I break it down when I teach it into two ways. We call them curious questions. That's a trademark part of our teaching, curious questions. And we go from basically in two forms, discovery to solution. So you're discovering something, but you don't want to stay there forever. To what would a home run look like? You got to figure out what works for you too. Like some people, it rolls off their tongue, like, what keeps you awake at night, or the old ones that get taught forever. I would say figure out a way to be a little fresher with that than just, what keeps you awake at night, because everybody's asking that. But some way of, this is the question, the key question that'll help you help them solve and think you could do something about it. And that is something like, what would awesome be for you? Some people say something like, if I had a magic wand, or there's just different ways of saying it. I'm not going to say exactly what I say because that's what I say. But The idea is that is one of the discovery questions that I could get them talking in the right direction.
Yes, totally. Yeah. Well, I want to kind of dive a little bit more into your business, because I love what you said a few moments ago, that every business issue, every personal issue is a trust issue. Always. It always comes down to trust. Everything, the root cause of the problems of our world, macro, micro, everything in between, is about trust.
Yes.
So you can either look at this as the world's most important, urgent issue, which many of your clients do, or someone listening is like, well, trust, that seems kind of squishy. That seems kind of like a nice to have, not really a have to have. How does a company, how does an organization who's not been educated yet about the DNA markers of this, how do they know if they're operating in a high trust environment or a low trust environment?
Well, first of all, you do have to decide that it is really, that important, that it really is key. And that was the first half of my work. And we put out a big study every year. If anybody wants it, trustoutlook.com. We give it away free. Significant global study. But so people buying in and understanding, it's like the number one reason the last several years in first world countries, people wanted to work for an organization wasn't appreciation. It wasn't, more compensation in first world countries even. It wasn't even more fun work environment with a ping pong table. It was trusted leadership. So when they see, sales went up when trust went up, attrition went down. Trust was always the leading indicator when they get that. And by the way, 20 years ago, no one was doing this research or talking about this when I started, basically. And now everybody, even famous, all these people are talking about trust with and without, mostly without research, right? So it's become less, we're going to have to do trust falls and back rubs. People get it more. But if they don't, we hit it with the research. And there's a lot of, our Trust Outlook goes out to CEOs around the country and world and whatever. So they say, how do I build trust and change? How do I deal with this issue? So they first have to buy into that. that it is a trust issue. So first of all, they see, trust performance goes up 286% and all these things happen. But we have a way of measuring it. And we have 6 different ways we measure on our framework. And the framework is the 8 pillars of trust framework. This is these 8 traits kind of spit out of that original research. Now we've had them, validated through triangulated revalidation through a University of Colorado, the research lab there. We just had an IO psychologist just validate them in another way, just actually last month. So you got to have something that you're framing against and people agree on. These 8 are what builds trust, whether it's in work in East Africa on corruption issues or pro sports teams or companies. It's these 8. So we're going against these 8. So I'm measuring on clarity. I'm measuring on consistency. We trust whatever is consistent. You show up same all the time. The only way, we might not like McDonald's, somebody might not, but they trust McDonald's. I've had the same burger on 6 continents. We trust consistency. Like we trust clarity. We over ambiguity. We trust that willingness to collaborate and connect. We trust those that'll stay committed, even if there's a pandemic. Those that that are committed and stick, I'm going to trust. Those that are just going to jump whenever there's something I don't. We trust results. That's the contribution pillar. You can have compassion and character, but if you don't deliver results, I don't trust you. We trust, based on the willingness to connect. We trust on competency. This is why, I might trust you to take my kids to the ball game because of your character pillar, but I might not trust you to give me a root canal because of competency. So the sales professional that stays fresh and relevant and capable, they're competent, they're ongoing learning, they're listening to your podcast, they're reading, they're getting coaching, consulting, mentorship. We do trust on character, that other pillar, character. We trust that. We trust those that care, compassion. If they care beyond themselves, if they just are self-focused, narcissistic, there's ways of measuring that. We don't tend to trust them. So we've got these 8, and I can get those simpler. We can put them in the show notes. They're in all my, books and on the internet and all over. But this 8-pillar framework, this is, I believe, how trust is built. Now, if you want to measure it in your organization, we have assessments where you can do it. You can use an enterprise trust index and you can measure trust and see gaps. We've had people say they looked at a gap and they saved $1 million in a week. We've had people say it helped them gain market share, all kinds of things, lower attrition. We can do a team measurement tool, just of a team of 10 or so people. We can do a self-assessment. You can do a Trust Edge 360. And in fact, in a simple 5-question assessment, you can send out to all your clients and customers and say, do people trust us? Why don't they? And you can find out better than, I would argue, some things like an NPS or something that it would help you understand why people trust you or don't and how to close a gap that you feel you'll get more sales. But all these measurements to kind of answer the macro question is they come back in a form to the 8, and there's behaviors under these 8 that we're looking for, because if you can close a gap on any of those, you will see sales get faster and more and increase. So that's what we're measuring against. I'm not sure if that took us off the rails or not, but that's
that's great.
The Institute, Trust Edge Leadership Institute. We're measuring trust. We're certifying and licensing people to use these tools to increase trust and speed up sales in their organization. And then I still speak and advise on this work.
Well, let's definitely talk about certification, because I know that this is a massive global movement and you've got quite the empire going there yourself, but you obviously can't conquer this as a single organization, even though you are the mothership. Talk about how the idea came to you for certifying other consultants and entrepreneurs and executives, and then give us kind of the state of that certification and where you'd like to take it going forward.
It's the biggest way of multiplying impact, and that's what we care about. We're a very missional organization. We've seen corruption issues be effective. We've seen people have said it saved their marriage. People have said it tripled their sales. So we're passionate about this work, and we said, how do we help other people do more of it? So we have an amazing group of certified folks on 6 continents that are taking this forward and deeper in their context or their company or their organization. And we have independent coaches and consultants that can use this to touch all of their, people. They can use our work. So it can help an independent consultant or coach give a way to measure something that really works. It can give them tools to do a leadership retreat, a Trust Edge leadership retreat. It can increase their credibility because of our slides and research is so beautiful, and they can align with that. So it gives those tools. What we don't teach is what you teach, and that is how to grow a consulting practice, how to grow a coaching company. You teach that. We don't. We want people that have a business and they just want to amplify that and impact, like they maybe are certified in StrengthsFinder and DISC or something. They want to use Trust Edge tools to even, take the best out there. That's what they have. But we're not teaching them how to sell more. Okay.
Sure. No, of course.
So the certifications, it's a 6-week process to get certified, but then online now, we do it globally. We had someone from Egypt in the last cohort and all over the world. So they get certified and then they go to proficiency, and within a year, we hope mastery. And the online platform gives them measurement tools they can use on their clients, and it gives them assessments, and it gives them content. It gives them a way to do a 1-day or a 2-day course, in person. It gives them a way to do virtual sessions. It gives them a load. It's a pretty significant platform. And then we do monthly calls with all the certifieds around the world. And then we do an amazing annual event called the Trusted Leader Summit, where clients, last time we had everything from senators to admiral to CEOs to whatever. So we have our clients plus the certified folks come in to beautiful JW at the Mall of America in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And that's November 7th through the 9th, 2023. And that's really hundreds of folks that are just doing great things. So that's some of what we do as certifieds in the community they get to be about. And I'll make the first announcement here. I don't know if my sales guy's going to be upset, but we're going to everybody right now. And we're making it easier. We cut the price by 2/3 because our goal became this year, how do we reach the world? So instead of just having 100 and some folks, it's go to hundreds and hundreds, be much less expensive with this really quality product. But there were so many people that couldn't use our work in HR and other places because they just couldn't budget for it. So we just cut the price down, and we're expecting many, many more coming in. And that was strategic planning was last week. So here it is. So
very exciting. Well, let me ask you a question about trust in this context.
Yeah.
Because, I'm channeling some of our other seasoned consultants, coaches, speakers. They're like, man, I would love to have an army of certified people going out teaching my stuff, but what if they're not good? What if they screw up the brand? What if they're unethical? I mean, once you're a, Trust Edge certified, they're sort of carrying part of your brand with them in their business. I know that there's a vetting process. Obviously, you're very careful. You're very selective. There's an application process. But above and beyond that, how did you take the lead to trust all of these people? Because after all, they're human beings.
It was a massive challenge. And I'll tell you, because especially my former COO was really big about protecting the brand, because I have had people totally plagiarize my book. I had someone at a big conference that you have been to. That was when I was a main stage presenter with a few thousand people, and started calling himself the Trust something, and, use my opening story and all my talk, and went around the, country using my stuff. I've had big companies plagiarize my research and work. And a couple things happened. Early on with some of the mentors I had from Covey to others before that, they said, never, a very Vital Smart CEO said this to me, don't let independents use it. Ruin your brand. Only go to companies. So we started only allowing companies to use our work. And so we certified inside a company. It's a little controlled then. And then just a few years ago, I did this big coaching conference, and all these people came to me, we want to get certified. I was like, no. We only do companies. And then I did a different one. Like, no, we want to get certified in your work. Can we use that work? And, sometimes you hear 3 things in like 3 weeks, you better start thinking about it. And then actually was a conversation. One of them was with John Maxwell. And I said to him, we're just sitting together at this time. And I said, what do you think about this? You've got thousands and thousands of certified folks, and some of them aren't using it well. And he said, yeah. He talked about tens of thousands that time. He said, well, what if, over half of them aren't using it? And then over half of those aren't probably doing it very well. But even that number, if they're doing it 60% of me, is that reaching more of the world with this good stuff that I have? You've got great stuff, David. The world needs it. You got to let go. And so I had a little monumental time with letting go and saying, I want people to use it. They'll do it imperfectly. So my next question, because I know brands, I'm not going to talk about Maxwell, but others that have let go, and it's really lowered the brand. And we worked really hard with our brand to be kind of premier, excellent, exceptional. And we have plenty of things we can work on. But if you touch our stuff, you can feel it in our books, we force big publishers to have higher print costs on our books because we wanted them a certain way and whatever. So I said, if we're going to let go, how could we do it and force the caliber up a little bit? We are going to let go. People could still, we've still been plagiarized recently. We've still been ripped off in different ways. And we're small, so we haven't gone after people as much with attorneys and everything in a certain way, especially against some of the massive companies that have used our stuff. But I said, how could we? And what we decided was, well, one thing we can do is have the content on the platform be exceptional, be beautiful. Like I have one of my certifieds from Canada just said, thank you for making me look good. Like it makes me look so good, your slides. So we give them, I think some certified communities, maybe there was a thought leader that does something, but then they give all the people a slide deck that is like black and white. It's like they have my slide deck. They have my slide decks for if I'm doing a full executive day, if I'm doing a half day. They have largely my stuff. Not that they can't tweak certain things or add certain things, but the copyrighted slides, that's the workbooks I use. That's the workbooks they use. So we said, well, if we give them excellence, the same measurement tools, the same things, and if we try to have a good onboarding process, we can at least get rid of some of that concern. It's totally imperfect, but that's the route we went, trying to let go more, but give them enough to maybe where in another case, they would start at 50%, at least with our stuff, they can start at 75.
Yes. Wow. All of that. So important. By the way, the weight and the color and the texture of the paper, beautiful.
Matters.
Amazing.
It matters.
It really does matter, right?
And, we spend, Nito told me this way back, Dr. Cobain, he said, spend, I wish I knew the exact phrase, but something like spend lavishly specific. So like on our gifts that we give away, they're beautiful. Like I think his example way back was you want to give them a Hershey bar or a Godiva. And it's like in that space, we give beauty. We don't have a load of things, but what we have, we actually do have a lot on the platform now. We're able to scale more, but like in our content, in our workbooks, in our toolkits and all this, it's like, we're not going to give all these, but if you touch it, that's going to be amazing. Even our business cards still like people are like, is that just right? Like, but if someone touches it, those things are going to be beautiful. Our Trusted Leader Summit, I'm really proud of the team and what they've done. It's like we've had people, big wigs from all over say, that was the best leadership event I've ever been to. And it's like that thing we're going to spend, we're going to make it beautiful. We don't make on it. We often lose on it, but we make it excellent. And that's part of our brand, so not touching everything, but maybe something like lavishly, exclusively specific.
Yes. I love that. Spend lavishly on the specifics.
Right. Yes.
Right. Because that has a halo effect, right? I mean, that has a halo effect on trust. It has a halo effect on price and fee expectation. Like, oh, this Horsager stuff is probably not cheap. No, it's not cheap. No. It's awesome and it's worth it.
Right.
So there you go. Yes, I know. Terrific episode here, but have you seen our latest web training? Oh my goodness, pop over there right now, or as soon as you're done listening to this episode, it's doitmarketing.com/webinar. See you over there. Back to the good stuff. I want to go back just real quick story before we wrap up about sort of the good old days, the bad old days. So you didn't have this big, beautiful office. You didn't have this amazing team of people. It was David, and it was the stuff, and it was maybe the first book. And
it wasn't even stuff. It wasn't any of that.
Consulting. Tell us a little bit about some of your own personal education around sales and selling, that if you were to tell perhaps an emerging consultant or coach or speaker, don't do these three things and start doing these three things much sooner.
I'll give you a few things that come to mind. So first of all, the backstory is Lisa and I moved back to Minnesota in 1999, started this business, and it's had a lot of iterations, but we didn't have any money. By that October, we had $1.40 to our name, 80 cents in the home account, 60 cents in the business account, black mold on the walls in the basement we lived in with no windows, bathroom, or kitchen. We'd go upstairs to 86-year-old Clara Miller's and share her bathroom. And she put a half of a shelf in her fridge that we could put some stuff on that half shelf. We lived there for 2 years. I hated debt. I thought if we could keep it, well, even though we became upside down and backwards debt-wise, I thought if we could make $700 a month, we could maybe pay our urgent bills. We always were able to pay our urgent bills, but there was some debt later and other things. And now I'm grateful to be, a different world. But that first decade, 99 to 09, there was a load of work. But if I was going to say to people something that goes with a lot of what you say, we say around here, you got to do the work. Like on the farm that I grew up on, the pile doesn't shovel itself. You got to do the work. The corn doesn't cultivate itself. You got to do the work. And that's the thing. People, they want a quick fix and an easy way. And trust just isn't like that. You got to do the work. But it's work that's worth it. And it's fun. And it took a long time for us. I think some people thought, I think you were there when I got inducted in the Hall of Fame and different things. And it's like, oh, overnight, I hadn't even heard about it. Yeah, well, that was 15 years later. And that first decade was a lot of work and there's a lot of stories to that. But I would say to people, our friend Verl says, lead with revenue. You got to do the most important activities first. And that's something I got good at. So for me, in those days in that basement with just sitting on the floor in this musty basement, I would get on the phone and call. And it's funny enough, in sales, I still believe, I was just talking to my lead sales guy today. I was like, calls still work. Before you do anything every day, we want to do top 5 calls you could make today that could just build a relationship, move the organization forward, connect. Top 5 emails you could send that are just 2 sentences long that would just connect with someone. The little things still make the big difference. And some of these things, I think it's great. We're doing a lot of technological things. We're using, some more sophisticated digital things, and we're doing other things today too. But I want to keep at the forefront. It's still about relationships, and it's still about doing the little things. That's what I would do. What is the little thing that you're not doing? And many people won't do that because they're thinking of the big other thing. The fastest result in a sale is a connection with someone face to face or phone to phone.
Yes.
So there's a lot more to that than I could.
You got to get in the game, right?
Yeah.
You got to be in it to win it.
As soon as you're doing that, then move towards systemization and processes. And, that's what we're still pushing forward. And then, I don't know. I could go so many directions with this. We could be on another 5 hours. But I'm grateful today. That. I just talked to how much taxes I'm paying. And I thought, you know what? My dad said, don't ever be afraid to pay taxes. That means you're making something. So stop complaining about taxes.
For sure. Yeah, the tax bill is probably, and I'm talking about me in this case, way more than I ever dreamed of having an income when I started. It's like, that's the tax bill? What? So there you go. And I'm sure it's multiples.
We're helping put the roads out, and we're helping pay for some good things in the world. And,
there you go.
And
exactly.
Lisa and
you and I are half of the infrastructure bill.
And Lisa and I are, by God's grace, missional about all this. And we're trying to do some other great things around the world with what we've been blessed with money-wise and other things. So anyway.
It's really tough to make the contributions to the things that you believe in if you're broke. So it's all about contribution. I love that. Absolutely. Well, David, tell us one overarching concept. If folks were to take one overarching connection between trust and more effective selling, what would you hope that one overarching takeaway would be?
This is the question I would ask. It's simple, but I would ask, this activity that I'm doing, will that build trust or decrease it? Will this call build trust or decrease it? Like, there's a lot of people doing activities today that are losing trust long term. We use the internet too, but people are posting stupid things that might get them an instant sale that's not going to build trust long term. So what will this activity build or lose trust? This is why even in our marketing, we give research. Really, we're a research, firm. And what we learned is people look at that research because it's a gift to them. And that actually works out as marketing. Instead of giving some light, cheesy, dumb thing on the internet, we're giving something of value. And that tends to build trust. So what is it? Whatever activity you're doing, just ask the question, will this call build or take away trust? Or how I do this call or this email or this post, will that build trust or lower it? And then don't do it if it won't build trust.
So powerful and so simple and so powerful again. Well, we have all kinds of goodies in the show notes. Can you walk us through what are some of the links that we're sharing? What are we offering people? What should they be checking out in the show notes?
Yes, we're going to have a special little code. You're going to see it there, and it's going to have David as the little special to the link. So just put in David's name, not for me, but for the Do It marketing master and Do It speaking, the Do It man himself.
Thank you.
So that'll be in there, and that will give you a whole lot of treats and tools. It'll give access to the newest research. It'll give access to 90-day quick plan, difference-making actions, our DMA daily strategy for getting the most sales. It'll give you how plan. How do you do that? It'll give access to all that. So that'll be in there, and you can just put the special David in there for that. And then the second thing, you can just find us. If you would like anything about us, trustedge.com. My name works. But also at TrustEdge or Trusted, you can link from there, but you can find out about our speaking and training, but you can also find about our certification and licensing and how you can use it. So you can jump from there, just email us. We'll give you anything you need. But that's what we're going to have for you today, and a special to you. And I'm sorry that it slipped my mind, but Gabe's going to give you right after this message the special place that he set up for you to find everything that's just for your folks.
No worries. That's the beauty of show notes.
Yeah.
So that's why they're there directly under this episode at thesellingshow.com. you will have all of the amazing Trust Edge resources from my friend, David Horsager. Such a pleasure to have you on, dude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. People would have to rewind, listen to this 3 or 4 times over to extract all the amazingness from your brain cells.
Well, it's a treat to be with you, and I really appreciate your friendship. As you know, it's gone back a ways now, and I'm looking forward to the next time we get to eat together. It's been all the way this summer that we were at the same table together, and I'm better for it. So I just appreciate you and all the work you're doing, and hoping for more to come.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, my friend, we'll talk again very soon. And that wraps up another episode of The Selling Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, tell a friend, go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thesellingshow.com. See you next time.